Hello everybody and welcome to a football podcast that precedes unfortunate events. I am Callum, joined here by Lewis.
Hi guys.
And Toby.
Hello everyone.
Basically this is a new football podcast where we are going to just sit here and talk absolute crap about football because we are university students and have no actual knowledge on football at all. We just think we do. So yeah, I'm Callum. I'm the voice you can hear introducing this every week, unfortunately. I'm also, unfortunately, an Everton fan. Life is depressing. Lewis, how about you tell us about yourself?
It's a very similar vibe for me, to be fair. Also depressing being a Stoke fan. In the depths of the Championship, it's fantastic viewing, I must admit.
Yeah, and also I'm a Chelsea fan. I said before, I think we've all got quite good clubs to talk about, especially at the moment anyway. See with Chelsea's owner troubles.
In the bin,
yeah.
Mudded. But yeah, so if we go off everyone's latest results this weekend, we got drubbed 4-0 by Crystal Palace after winning what felt like our first game of the season against Newcastle. Hopes were high. Alex Iwobi scored a game winner. We thought maybe things are turning here, and then we got absolutely drubbed by Crystal Palace in one of the most FIFA performances I've ever seen, where like Everton's XG is like 8 and Crystal Palace's is like 0.1, and we still lost because we can't defend. So yeah, it's not very fun to be me right now. I'm going to be joining Lewis probably the next season in the Championship.
the boys.
And Toby's club's probably not going to exist next season, so we're mudded. So Lewis, how did Stoke get on?
Just a point on that quarter-final very quickly. It should have been Stoke. Stoke should have beaten Palace. How Liam Moore missed that chance, I will never know. But we should have been. They should have been dead and buried. Then we'd have battered Everton. We'd have a trip to Wembley on the way. We'd be loving life. What did we do at the weekend? I think going into the game, we hadn't won in 9, which is always what you love to see. I think 4 of them were draws though. But then we beat Millwall. We beat Gary Rowett, who obviously former Stoke manager, so it was always nice to get one up on him. First time I think since he's left, he's always beat us, so always nice. We actually saved a penalty as well. We never save penalties. I don't know what to say. We won a game of football.
Yeah, obviously Chelsea as well. FA Cup win, wasn't it, against Middlesbrough? Middlesbrough were pretty good, weren't they, in that game? I thought, especially in that second half near the end, they were pretty good. But I think we just cruised the game. I think we're on a 6-game winning streak as well since we lost to Liverpool.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I know, it must be nice.
Can't relate.
But we haven't played many good teams,
I don't think we've got 6 wins all season. Never mind. Never mind 6 in a row. But anyway, if we go into our intentions, basically, as I said, this is going to be a football podcast where we come in every week. To talk about what's happened in the past week. We'll usually have some sort of little special nerdy little segment afterwards where we tell you how much we know about football by looking at statistics websites. So yeah, if we go straight in to the news anyway, one of the biggest pieces of news this week is that Man United have spoken to Ajax manager Erik Ten Hag about replacing Ralf Rangnick at the end of the season. Ten Hag has had a wonderful stint at Ajax, to put simply. Most people probably remember him for that Champions League semi-final a few years ago where they were knocked out by Tottenham in the last minute. This season in the Eredivisie, they've been ridiculous. Even in the Champions League, he's turned Sebastian Haller into one of the most dangerous forwards in the world. But what do you think about it, boys? Erik Ten Hag possibly to Man United?
Well, I think he's run his course at Ajax now. He's been there since 2017. Obviously, I think he's taken them as far as they can go, really. Well, I'm very shocked he didn't leave after that. Was it 2019 semi-final Champions League?
I think so, yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a move's been in the offing for ages now. I think it's time he grabs one.
Definitely, it's definitely an interesting move. Like obviously, United were linked with Poch as well, weren't they? Been heavily linked with Poch. Obviously, hasn't had the greatest time at PSG. And I think there's a lot of news coming out this weekend there of players falling out. I think there's a sort of French, South American divide apparently in the club. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, I think Ten Hag is obviously a much more interesting move, and I think he's the sort of manager that United need. You know what I mean? Like another fresh start.
How many times have we said that?
I know. I think since probably I don't know. Was Jose? Would you count Jose as a fresh start from?
Well, I mean, I'd say he was a success. I'd say he was a success. Second in the league, won a few trophies. You can't really say it wasn't a success if you look at everything else in a Man United standpoint of over the past 10 years since Ferguson left, really.
But yeah, I think he'll definitely be like a totally fresh start at United. You know what I mean? He's young. I don't know how old he is, but
52 it says here.
Well, he's going to be much younger than some of the managers have had in the past. I don't know how old's Ralph? I don't know.
I think Ralph's early to mid 60s.
Yeah. So I think it would be very interesting. I think for the Premier League as a whole, I think he'll definitely add something different. I think we've seen as well when teams go for, a manager we've not really heard of. Obviously, Ten Hag's been known for that Ajax run into the Champions League, but I think when obviously look at Bruno Lage as well. Like no one really. I know it's a different level obviously at Wolves, but when I like it when a team go for sort of that different manager. You know what I mean?
It's a chance for the managers though as well. They want to come and prove their worth. Really, they're never going to do that in. You can only go so far in the likes of Portugal, in the likes of the Netherlands, but once you come to England or another major European league, it's a different ball game.
Yeah, like imagine if they went for Poch, and Poch just flopped and it was nothing.
Yeah, because the thing is, I feel like with Poch as well, I don't think he's a bad manager. I think he's a great manager.
There's a lot of negative energy surrounding him at the moment. Though.
I do really think the whole Tottenham not winning in the Champions League final thing, not winning a Premier League, really did affect him. And the thing with Ten Hag is, this is his first big break, and he's a disciple of Pep Guardiola. Was the manager at Bayern Munich's second team while Pep was managing the first team. So, he understands, plays that same 4-3-3 style football, likes to keep the ball, quick passes, safe passes, likes to get the ball up the pitch quick. And even if you see, here we've got it on the screen, averages around 2.5 points a game in the league. So he's basically winning practically every game. In the Eredivisie, they've won 21, drawn 3, lost 3. He's winning basically 80% of his games while scoring 3 goals a game. Exactly what United want. And he's clearly got a track record of improving players. We've gone Sebastian Haller from a flop at West Ham to, maybe if we were saying he was just scoring goals in the Champions League, in the Eredivisie, we'd be saying that, it's just the Eredivisie. But the fact that I believe he's still top scorer in the Champions League, when I'm pretty sure now Ajax are out. I'm pretty sure Ajax were knocked out by Benfica.
Yeah, Benfica.
Yeah, so it's just you look at the players Manchester United have. Young Anthony Elanga, young Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford, who desperately needs a fresh start at Manchester United, in my opinion. And you even look at players like Luke Shaw. I don't think Harry Maguire should be starting really, but I do think a manager like Ten Hag may be able to get the best out of someone like Maguire.
You never know what happens when a new manager comes in. The way it affects players is unreal. Like, some players drop off under certain managers. We've seen it all before, but the impact a new manager can have on a player, it sounds stupid, but they can come a completely new signing.
That's exactly what it is. And, we speak about Man United and a player that Ten Hag could possibly revive the career on. Paul Pogba looks like he doesn't really want to be at Manchester United anymore.
He's had a great time.
He has, ever since moving for a world record transfer fee in 2017. Was he a summer or a January window?
It was Mourinho, wasn't it? It was Mourinho's
I feel like it was 2016.
Yeah.
It seems a bit early, does it not?
Yeah, he's been there for a while.
When was Stormzy big? Because that was at the big announcement video, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it's I'm going to say 2016, but he's had a weird 6 years at Man United.
It was 2016.
Like I said, what are your guys' honest thoughts on Pogba? Where do you rate him?
I think he's a fantastic player. I really do. I don't understand the stigma that he's not a good player, because it's clear he's a good player. I just think Man United are an absolute cesspit in the point that they're chopping and changing so much, to the point where can Pogba really get fit to a system? He's been played on the left, played in the centre, played in defensive midfield, played in attacking midfield. I know the guy's versatile, and you should be saying for £90 million you should be able to play all these positions, but he has no sense of certainty. And it's the same thing I say about when I talk about Everton all the time, is how can you expect players to perform if they're playing in a new system every 18 months? It's the same at Manchester United, in my opinion. So I think a fresh start is good for Pogba. I do think Pogba would really fit Erik Ten Hag's football really well. But
does he want to get away from United though? That's the question.
I think it's more of a United thing. I think as a person, obviously I can't speak on how he's a person, never met the bloke, but he seems like once something's ruffled his feathers, should you say, then his mind's made up. There's no sort of reconciling him after that. So I think it's an issue with the club. I don't think any manager will.
Yeah, you never know if it's him speaking or Raiola, do you really?
Yeah,
as well.
True.
No, that's the problem.
Raiola's players,
yeah. Like under Mourinho, like, the amount of times Raiola came out and, you know what I mean, just said some outlandish things.
Yeah, well,
saying Pogba wants to leave and all this, but it's just weird talking about Pogba, because I just feel like it's been spoken about so much. It's like, how much more can you really talk about? But obviously, the interview that came out yesterday, or was it today? Well, it came out today in the papers, in English papers, didn't it? But that with the French newspaper, and saying that how he was depressed under Mourinho and all that sort of thing. And yeah, I like you said, I think he joined United at the worst possible time ever, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, I do think it's quite weird though, because I do think at the start he was good player. I think
he was really well.
him and
even
Ibrahim
this season. What did he get? Like 7 assists in his first?
I
2
remember
games?
him and
He was unreal.
Ibrahimovic linked up really well with each other at United, and I just seem to think it's just, you know, I don't want to push all the blame onto the player or all the blame onto the club, because it's clearly both parties play a fault in this. You know, Pogba, I don't think Pogba has the work ethic for what Manchester United want. I think the same will be said with Erik Ten Hag. I think he does have the work ethic if he's not playing for Manchester United. You look at him for France, you know, the one thing I picture about him at France especially is that goal against Switzerland in the Euros.
He was awesome in the World Cup.
He was so good.
Was so good.
And the Euros.
Whenever he plays for France, he's an unbelievable player. It's clear that he's a world-class midfielder.
That's because Deschamps can deal with him. He wants to play under Deschamps. Like,
the team he's in as well. Like, well, I know we're going to speak about it later. Where could Pogba possibly go? But if you dropped him in Real Madrid, for example, I know they're not the best team at the moment anyway. But obviously after the summer, I think they'll arm themselves with Mbappe possibly or whatever. They'll be one of the best teams again in the world. So imagine him at a club like that.
I think you've seen his link up with Mbappe already for France. You see these passes that are almost like he just knows Mbappe's runs perfectly.
Scripted, that's what it feels like.
It feels like it's a TV show. I don't remember who it was against, but there's one where he just takes one touch, doesn't even look, and just fires it.
I was thinking that a minute ago, and I was trying to think who it was against.
And it's just ridiculous. And you think maybe Real Madrid look at that and go, these two have already got a connection. You look at young Eduardo Camavinga, who probably looks up to someone like Paul Pogba. Camavinga, a really good defensive presence and good on the ball too, but I think he needs to improve that offensive side of the game, and someone like Paul Pogba might be able to help that. And we'll go on to it later, but Real Madrid look like they might need another central midfielder, because I don't know if they're completely ready to take the wheels off Eduardo Camavinga. And Fede Valverde kind of plays this almost weird bridge between a regular starter and a squad player. He's like in between those roles. So I think maybe, and it's just Paul Pogba, isn't it? It's like when they signed David Beckham. Was David Beckham one of the best football players in the world? Was fantastic. I wouldn't say he was the top echelon of footballers in the world, like your R9s, your Luis Figos, but he had a brand already with him. Same with Mbappe, the link to Jordan. Wouldn't surprise me if Real Madrid are sponsored by Jordan in a few years' time. Yeah. Then you look at players like Pogba, this huge reputation around the world, millions of followers, a huge presence in his home country.
Yeah, he brings more than just his ability on a football pitch,
and he's just a typical Real Madrid Galactico, isn't he?
Well, you see Florentino Perez was it earlier this season? He came out and said he wanted to have another Galactico summer, like when Ronaldo went, like when Kaká went. And maybe Pogba's the signing that could get the ball rolling.
It's a perfect time for Madrid as well, isn't it? The way the market has been, obviously with COVID and stuff, and obviously loads of players going out of contracts. It's a perfect time for them, really, isn't it, Madrid? And I think they'll arm themselves pretty well.
Yeah, I really do think a new environment is probably what Paul Pogba needs. I think it's just the sort of thing where, we can talk about this in circles over and over again, but we're just going to get led to the same point now. So I think we move on to West Ham demand a £150 million price tag for Declan Rice. I'll let you two go on about this first. What do you think about it?
I was going to say, a lot of people argue, well, how is he worth 150 mil? But I always say the point that he's worth 150 mil to West Ham. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can see how well West Ham have, gone on since David Moyes returned to the club, and obviously the crop of players who have come into the team, and obviously Declan Rice has spearheaded that, and he's become one of the best midfielders in the league, arguably England's best defensive midfielder. So yeah, he's worth 150 mil to West Ham, and obviously that stops other clubs coming into game, because if obviously Chelsea have been heavily linked with Declan Rice for how many years or how many months, so yeah, if Chelsea want to get him, then they're going to have to pay big. But yeah, he's worth 150 mil to West Ham, and I guess an argument you can say against that is that a good thing, is that a bad thing? I guess that does kind of stop young players from moving on to other clubs, like obviously seen in the past where young players have moved to a big team for quite a small fee, but obviously Declan Rice is not going to be one of them players. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's different, because the thing is with Declan Rice is, I think he does have a case of, in my opinion, being one of the best defensive midfielders in the world. I think, you watch him playing, you just go, that's pure quality. You watch, even he's added a goal scoring knack to his CV basically this season. He hasn't scored many, one in the Premier League, two in the Europa League, but it's these knack for big goals. I don't know who it was even if we want to look at
He sort of rounded the keeper, didn't he, in the Europa League, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sort of.
Kidderminster's not big opposition, but you look at it.
Yeah.
Massive club.
Winning goal against Kidderminster. I'm pretty sure he scored a winner in the Europa League too, and I'm pretty sure he's even goal in the Premier League's a winner. But he's been given a role to go forward more, and it's almost like him and Souček have swapped roles from last season, of Rice being the one who gets forward more, and Rice is the one who progresses the play, and you can see that in his stats. His progressive carries, which is basically, if I'm correct, is where you dribble the ball a certain amount. I believe it's 10 yards.
Yeah.
Forwards, it's 7 a game. The top 5% of midfielders, not just defensive midfielders. So that's including
in the league or in the world.
That's in the world, in Europe's top 5 leagues. Oh wow, wow. So
Callum's just at puberty.
so you look at it and you go, this is a defensive midfielder who can do everything for you. If you're behind in a game, he can drag you forward. If you need a solid rock presence, who I think his ability to intercept the ball is fantastic. I think that's the one big thing. He's not like a Kante where he can hound you down for the ball and just constantly pressure you, which I think he can do, not to Kante's level, but he's so good at reading the game and sticking that foot out at the right time to claim the ball back that I don't think a team will pay 150 million for him. I think he'll go for similar to Jack Grealish money if he does leave. I think West Ham will not be able to turn down 100 million pounds, but at the same time, you have to understand why West Ham value him at that much, because they go, okay, they won't pay 150, maybe they'll pay 120, maybe they'll pay 110 and get a bit more, because in my opinion, if Jack Grealish is 100, no offence, I'd pay more for Declan Rice.
It's a tricky one, really. Feel free to interject if you think I'm waffling, but would you pay 150 million for any other defensive midfielder in world football?
No, but I feel like there is a such thing as an English tax, isn't there? And I think,
obviously that's.
I think us sitting here and going, well, if he wasn't English, how much would he be worth?
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't pay 150 million for Tchouaméni, would you?
No, you wouldn't. But you'd probably pay 50 or 60 for Tchouaméni.
I think the price tag from West Ham is just a fancy way of them saying we do not want to sell this player. I think instead of just coming out and being stubborn like that, they've just gone, yeah, screw it, let's just shove as much money up there as possible.
Yeah.
If somebody's stupid enough to pay that, then that's a result for us. We can deal with that, but we do not want to sell this player.
And obviously where West Ham are placed, now this season, they're fighting for Europe again. They don't want to let him go to a big rival, do they? And that's obvious. And if they do let him go to, Chelsea, Man United or whatever, it's going to have to be at a cost. And obviously, he's not going to go. If he is going to go, he's not going to go for 150 million, like you said. It's going to be fall below that. You know what I mean? They aim in high just so they can drop it down to around the £100 million mark. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens to it. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's the strategy, isn't it? It's to slowly bump them to around Jack Grealish money. I think that's what they'll accept, and I think that if Jack Grealish goes for 100 million, I do think it's fair that Declan Rice does, because I think Declan Rice is.
Yeah, in his position, I think he's, if you get what I mean, in his position, he's similar to Jack Grealish's ability, I think. You know what I mean? If you change their skill sets, if you didn't compare
100%.
How good they are in their own position, I think they're quite similar.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people are, we'll just quickly cover on this quickly, a lot of people are quite against Jack Grealish and think, oh, well, he was a flop. I think the problem with that is I can never call someone a flop at Man City, because you look at Rodri, you look at even someone like Bernardo Silva, you look at Gabriel Jesus, you look at so many players that have joined in their first season. They've been good, but they haven't been spectacular. Have then gone, like, Rodri is arguably the best defensive midfielder in the world.
Yeah, it's very hard to justify £100 million price tag, isn't it? People expect 30, 50, 60 goals. And realistically, that is never going to happen.
I just think that's the market, though, isn't it? If Pogba's 95, you're paying him.
Yeah, that's the market, but people's perception of what a £100 million player should do is...
I think an £100 million English player is different to an £100 million player.
Yes, but people don't see it that way, do they?
I think they do, though.
They see £100 million, we paid this much money for him, we paid a load, he needs to score 40.
What I mean is the perception's different, as in... If you say this English player went for £100 million, the first thing someone's going to think is English tax. If this Spanish player went for £100 million,
he's got to be quality. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I see what you mean.
But I completely disagree that he's been a flop. I think he's been good at Man City, but he just needs time. And in that system, it's very hard to shine because every player is ridiculous.
Do you think he's almost being set up to replace Kevin De Bruyne?
I don't know.
No, can you replace Kevin De Bruyne?
No, I don't think you can. But do you think he's been the player who's put on the pedestal and Pep's gone, you? When Kevin's not got the legs anymore, which, what is he now,
He doesn't have the legs at the moment, does he? He's injured, does he?
29, 30, you
He's got
know what
shins
I
made
mean?
of spaghetti, mate.
Exactly. Do you think he's trying to almost have De Bruyne? Because we know how much Jack Grealish loves Kevin De Bruyne. If you look at any interview, he idolises the guy. Do you think he's almost gone to De Bruyne, put an arm around Jack, teach Jack how you play? Because he might not ever be as good as Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, Pep's not a stranger to changing players' styles, though, is he?
But a player 75% of the ability of Kevin De Bruyne is still a world-class midfielder.
Well, yeah, he won't be. He's not going to be a similar player to Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think. I think he's just come to be another player who can create for him, isn't he? You know, you've seen Bernardo Silva this season. He's been outstanding, isn't he? He's such a good footballer, and I think Jack Grealish will have that season in a few seasons' time. He'll have his sort of moment in the light.
Well, yeah, because everybody else thought
Everyone
Bernardo
does,
Silva was crap when he first joined, because he didn't set the legal light straight away.
Yeah, well, there's loads of it. There's Sterling a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
When they got knocked out, that season where they got knocked out to Spurs in the Champions
Well,
League.
there's Sterling the start of this season as well.
Yeah.
People are on Sterling's about to start this season. He got a few game time. He got a bit more game time November, December, and now he's
I think the thing is with a Pep Guardiola system is you can't judge someone if they don't play consistently under a Pep Guardiola system, because
They're a
because
machine,
you don't know what they're doing behind the scenes.
if your name's not Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo, the top of the top, Kevin De Bruyne, Ruben Diaz, you will not play every game. It's simple. Even the centre-backs are rotated. Laporte, John Stones, and even Nathan Ake gets quite a bit of game time. So, you know, you look at all these players and you go, well, that's just how it works under Pep Guardiola. And I think Jack Grealish understands that. And I think, you know, we'll see for England. I know, obviously, I think it's Ivory Coast, and I couldn't tell you the second team.
Switzerland, isn't it? I think.
But I think you'll see. He'll play those games and he'll be fantastic. I guarantee he'll get man of the match in one of those games. And then we'll all look at it and go, oh, right, crap, Jack Grealish is really good at football.
They're all clogs in a machine, aren't they, really?
Even the Champions League as well. I think Jack Grealish has been one of Man City's better players in the Champions League. I don't think that's an argument. I think he's been fantastic for them in the Champions League. So I think it shows that Jack Grealish is ready to play on the biggest stage. If you can perform in the Champions League, you can perform anywhere.
Yeah, we'll see what happens at the World Cup as well, won't we? Because he was idolised by England fans at the Euros. He was great.
Yeah, that was it.
So once he gets given that platform to be the sort of star player, which I reckon he will for England.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see him shine.
Yeah. So right.
I've never seen a player so universally loved by England fans.
Yeah.
You know what
in
I
my
mean?
lifetime, no. I've probably the last one.
He's up there with people have compared him to that in the summer, but he's up there with Beckham in that sort of, because he's quite, you know, girls think he's good looking. You know what I mean? He's like sort of up there, isn't he?
Yeah, that's
while I think he's good looking, I'll just put it out there. But
I mean, I think he's good
Jack
looking.
Grealish came up to me.
I think he's good looking too.
Jesus Christ.
Get it out here, Jack Grealish. Can I have your phone number, please? But anyway, move on to the last little story that has been over the past few days in football. Antonio Rudiger, according to Sky Sports, 2 Premier League clubs are monitoring the Chelsea defender, as it looks like Juventus are still the odds-on favourites. Before we go on to Juventus, who do you think the 2 Premier League clubs are?
I think we have to start with Toby on this one.
I don't have a clue. Well, I reckon who's written that story?
They don't tell you on Sky Sports, do they? Sneaky.
Sky? Okay.
But
Sky sources.
I do think Newcastle are one. But I think Newcastle are interested in any big player that's running out of a contract. No, but I think they're one of the interested club. So obviously he's not going to Newcastle. He's got standards for himself. But, you know, I'm thinking them and Manchester United are my two.
Probably.
Because they need a new centre-back partner for Varane. Or even play Maguire in a back three, because he's played good in a back three for England. So
I bet he just goes full on controversial and goes like Arsenal or Spurs.
Well, I mean, if Arsenal get Champions League, I don't think it's controversial at that point. I really don't.
Yeah, the uproar from Chelsea fans.
Yeah.
And I also think Arsenal. I don't
it.
think he would, because I think Arsenal have got their centre back priorities set. You know, you've got Gabriel, I've just knocked the microphone. Who, in my opinion, is one of the best central defenders in the Premier League. I think he's fantastic. Ben White, I'm not a big fan of Ben White, to be honest with you, but I think his ability to progress the ball forward for a defender is fantastic.
Robert Holding.
Yeah. But the one I'm thinking of is William Saliba. My voice is really going throughout this one. William Saliba has been fantastic for Marseille, and Marseille are having a really good season. So I think, I think they've just progressed in the Conference League. You know, obviously it's the first season, but for a club like Marseille, you know, if Tottenham win it, we laugh at them. If Marseille, Roma win it, it's a big deal for them. It's a free ticket into Europe next season. You know, even though Marseille may be in the Champions League, for them, it's like, if you go to an Everton or a Stoke fan, would you take the League Cup? We'd bite your hand off for it.
Yeah.
But a Chelsea fan, a Man City fan, a Liverpool fan would go, I'd rather have the Champions League, man. I'd rather have the Premier League. So I think that's the sort of thing, is you look at a club like Marseille, and I think Marseille will end up signing him. Marseille is with Guendouzi as well. Guendouzi's another one who's been ridiculously good. Marseille are just taking all the French rejects from Arsenal and turning them into really good players. But I think Salah still has a chance for Arsenal, and I could easily see him coming in and replacing Ben White, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but Rudiger is an interesting one because we discussed before we started recording that, Rudiger has been, he sort of epitomised Tuchel's time at Chelsea so far, because I think Rudiger has been easily one of the best centre-backs in the league. I don't know where you would rate him. Who would you say the top 3 centre-backs in the league are?
Virgil van Dijk,
Ruben Diaz,
Antonio Rudiger, Thiago Silva.
Yeah.
They're interchangeable.
Who's the top 3? It's got to be between them 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Them 4.
It's one of them. Everybody.
I think Joel Matip's up. I do really think Joel Matip's up there too. But I think
Ryan Shawcross, mate.
I really do think Joel Matip's a fantastic centre back. But I do think those 3 are better than him. And right, so moving on into the next segment. I believe it's Wayne Rooney and Patrick Vieira have just been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. I think that adds the list up to about 7 or 8 now. I think there's a fair few.
Yeah, who's in it?
I believe currently it is Shearer, Keane, Lampard, Gerrard,
Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp,
Vieira, Henry, Rooney. So 8.
8.
I'm guessing. I might be missing someone, and I think they're voting to add more. I think they're gonna. I think
10 days left.
10 days left, and then I don't know if they're gonna wait until the end of the season to add them or then just add them. But we're each gonna pick one player from this list. It's a long list. It's very hard to choose, and we're just basically gonna say who our number 1 vote is to get in, or our favourite player. It's not who we're saying is the best. It's who we think should get in. So we are, as all 20-year-olds, not gonna say Les Ferdinand. Les Ferdinand's a fantastic footballer, but we never watched Les Ferdinand in his prime, say with someone like Robbie Fowler or a young Michael Owen,
I think also the thing with the Hall of Fame, all these players are on the list will eventually obviously get into it. You know what I mean? It's just when they get inducted. Yeah,
I think that is the problem as well, as I think a lot of the Premier League audience is our age, so I think some of the older players may feel underrepresented, but I also feel... There you go. Grow up. So... we've started off with Toby before. Lewis, we'll start off with you. Who's your number 1 induction?
So I'll have to go for Sergio Aguero. Even though did he ever win PFA Player of the Year? I don't think he did he?
No, I don't think so. Should have done that.
Robbery. So 275 appearances, 184 goals, 47 assists. It speaks for itself, really, and obviously that incredible moment on the final day of the 2011-12 season against QPR. Obviously, you can't induct him in for one moment, but if you could,
definitely.
If you could, then Sergio Aguero epitomises that. That was the best moment in Premier League history.
Yeah, the most iconic moment.
Yeah, everything about it. Even if you look at the home screen, so if you got a vote and you press there's a little eye thing, tells you all the statistics, all the stuff. That's where we're getting it from. Even 5 Premier League titles. Even when Pep came in, Pep sort of pushed him out a bit, but he forced his way back into the fray.
Considering he came into a Man City team that had not won a Premier League title, 2 win 5 is...
Yeah, and I think...
5.
And I think it is... As well, you look at it and go... He is arguably got a case for being the best goal scorer in the league's history. You look at his minutes to goal ratio, you look at his injuries, and how he still would consistently score 20 goals. It's almost how, it's very similar to Alan Shearer, and I think if he would have made as many appearances as Alan Shearer, he possibly would have broken the record.
It's hard to say, though.
It is really hard to say, but I think...
How short is he of Alan Shearer? Shall I have a look?
He's got 184 right now. Alan Shearer had 260. Alan Shearer, how many appearances?
It's quite far away.
But what? Alan Shearer probably made, 400, 450, 500 appearances?
And there were 22 teams. Yeah. But just the relationships he formed with the players around him, like the likes of Yaya Toure, the likes of David Silva. His combination play with David Silva was unreal. Those two, the partnership they had was incredible. And I just think he joined Man City and sort of joined that sort of revolution. Fair enough, you can say what you want about where Man City got their money from, but they came from nothing and they've won 5 league titles in the last 10 years.
He's Man City's best ever player.
And it's not all because of Sergio Aguero, but
I think he's
played a bigger role than most.
I think there's no doubt he's the best South American, and I think he's definitely top 3 foreign players in the Premier League history. I really do. I think it's probably him, maybe someone like Bergkamp.
All the Arsenal fans on Twitter are going to be screaming Gabriel Martinelli's name.
But it's what Arsenal fans do, and it's just what they do.
Anyway, shall we move on? Toby, who have you got?
Well, I've gone along similar lines. I've gone for Yaya Toure. I know you mentioned him a minute ago, but what a ridiculous player, wasn't he? He was absolutely unbelievable. Just got his stats here as well. So 230 appearances, 62 goals and 32 assists. for a midfield player in the Premier League. I think that's unmatched, really, isn't it, for the amount of games he played. But yeah, in my mind, what made me really pick him as my choice was that 2013-14 season when he scored 20 goals. He was just ridiculous. That was under Pellegrini, wasn't it? I don't know if you remember the Capital One Cup final that year.
Capital One Cup.
Capital One Cup,
Jesus Christ.
Against Sunderland. I think they were 1-0 down when they Man City, and the technique he put on that finish, I think it's from the right, sort of from the right hand corner of the box, outside the box, and he just clips it, and it's sort of the amount of power he puts on it, but the placement on it is ridiculous, and the curve on it.
Yeah.
I think he just side foots it, and it just goes. I don't know who's in goal. It might have been Mignolet or Manone, one of the two.
Someone.
Ridiculous. But yeah, that season under Pellegrini, he was just. He was one of the best footballers in the world, I think.
Well, it's like you just watched him as soon as he got the ball and was driving into that final third. There was one outcome.
Yeah,
he's either taking a man on and hitting it, or he's just like curving it from 20, 25 yards.
I've never seen a player hit a ball so hard with so much placement. You know what I mean?
I think the thing is with Yaya, and I think maybe he'll come on the podcast now that we've given him his birthday cake. But yeah, I think the thing is about him is he looks like a defensive midfielder. He was built like a defensive midfielder. He even played centre back at Barcelona. I believe he started the 2009 final for Barcelona at centre back.
So was he at Barcelona when Pep was at Barcelona?
Yes,
Did
and
he
Pep
play
got.
under Pep?
Yeah, I think he won the 2009 Champions League
Did
with
he?
Pep. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he played centre back next to
He
Puyol.
threw his toys out the pram when Pep joined Man City.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
a shame they didn't have that relationship, because it would have been interesting to see how Yaya Toure would have been under Pep at Man City.
I've still not forgiven him for scoring against Stoke in the 2011 FA Cup final.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna have to be the one who goes, before my years, and it's a player we all saw, but we didn't really see the true greatness. I think mid-2000s we did see it, but I think he's Man United fans will talk about this man in the mid to late 90s and say how good he really was. It's Paul Scholes. I think you just can't have Lampard and Gerrard in and not Scholes in.
True.
I know everyone has this debate, but I think Paul Scholes might be one of the best passers of a football I've ever seen. When you just looked at someone and you went, he could genuinely still be a professional footballer if he was a statue. If all he could do was stand still
yeah.
and just all he could do was flick his leg out.
Walking football.
Paul Scholes would be a professional even if he had to walk. Didn't have to run at all. The guy was ridiculous, and 500 appearances basically, 107 goals, which for someone who dropped in deep towards the end of his career, scoring a goal every 5 games, not a bad record for a midfielder. For someone who, the further on in his career when he dropped deeper and deeper to facilitate other players, he was the attacker originally. He was the one who would be next to Roy Keane, and it was quite ironic because Roy Keane was the one who dropped deep for him, and then he started to drop deep for other players later on in his career. But I just think, 11 league titles, 100 and I think that's about 160 something goal contributions in 500 games for someone who did drop deep. For someone who you look at the way other footballers talk about him, and I think that's really the thing that stands out for him is look at the players like Xavi talk about him.
Yeah.
If you're a little ginger lad who plays in England and La Masia talking about you and going, play like him, you know what I mean? You can't not have him in. And I don't know how many players they're adding, because we looked at this list and it's
Probably 2, I think.
names like John Terry, Peter Schmeichel, Edwin van der Sar, Ian Wright. You look at all these players that are all wonderful players, world-class footballers, every single one of them. But I just think Paul Scholes is at the top of the list for quality, longevity, success.
We were spoiled, weren't we, when in the time when we had Frank Lampard, Gerrard, and
I just think they all played two similar roles.
Was it?
Yeah, he still played at left midfield for England under, was it Sven-Göran Eriksson?
Yeah, I think one of them would have had to have been dropped. I think it's too difficult to
Imagine
play.
if we just had one of them 3 players now, you know what I mean, in that England setup.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect midfield, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I just think
So who are we going to go for then? We've got to pick one of them, haven't we?
it's got to be Paul Scholes.
I still can't believe you didn't vouch for John Terry.
I know, well,
that's
Like
borderline
I said
disgraceful.
before, I think it's just a given, isn't it?
He didn't agree with his
I know,
monkey
it's a good
NFTs on Twitter, so that's it. That's it. No Hall of
he's
Fame
not-
for those NFTs.
He's a
Criminal.
hero of mine, but
It's an interesting take
yeah,
to say
I think
the
has
least.
he been banned from doing all that now?
I just think the company.
Somebody's definitely had a
He's
word.
deleted them all, hasn't he?
I
someone
just
has
think they were
definitely
crap.
had a
They
word.
just didn't sell.
Yeah.
I just think I don't understand NFTs, to be honest with you. You
No,
two
I
might
don't
know more than me, but
But
Absolutely
he's in the academy now, isn't he, at Chelsea? So that might have been a reason. I think when he joined Chelsea,
they were like,
it'll be a PR
start.
thing, 100%.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm sticking with Paul Scholes. I can't
I
not
might
give.
have to go Paul Scholes just because.
I don't know. They're three very different players, aren't they? But
They are, but if you have to take everything to account, Paul Scholes
well,
takes
to be fair,
every.
We could pick two because we think two are going to be inducted. So then
Scholes Aguero.
Scholes
Aguero.
Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, I think if we have to pick the ones out of the ones we said, because if I had to pick personally, it'd be Scholes Terry, but Scholes Aguero if we pick out of the three that we mentioned. Right, so if we move into our final section for today, we've been mentioning players leaving a lot. We've been mentioning, so we're going to go through a few players. We've got a list of, I believe, this is 6 players here that are all probably going to lead their clubs within the next 2 years. Some of them this summer, some of them next, more than likely. And we're going to list a few replacements. We're not going to go too in detail. We're going to say why we think they might be good replacements, what they could do, and that's it. If you want real good analysis on these players, there's probably a lot of videos on YouTube. We can give you the basics. We can tell you what they can do, why they'd be a good replacement, and that's probably it. We're going to start off with the Liverpool trio. Salah, Mane, Firmino, all look like they're probably going to leave in the next 2 or 3 years. Salah specifically looks like he could be leaving sooner rather than later with the inability to sign a contract. It looks like Liverpool are not going to pay him what he wants because they don't want to break the wage structure. With Liverpool, more specifically, do you think the Salah replacement's already in the club like I do? With even someone like Jota, Diaz, I feel like Diaz is more of a Mane replacement. But do you feel like Jota is going to be the one who steps in as the primary goal scorer for Salah?
I don't know. I think Jota is going to fill in for that Firmino role, I think. And I think they're going to get a new right mid. I think they'll get one probably maybe this summer. Because I like the way Liverpool, go about their business. I know a few fans, they get a bit annoyed that the club don't spend money when they should. You know what I mean, like big bucks. But I think one player is Rafinha, especially if Leeds go down. I don't think they will now. But I think Rafinha could be off, and I think he'll be a perfect fit for Liverpool in the summer. You know what I mean? Give him a time, give him a chance to bed in, give him a season to bed in, and once Salah does leave, he'll be fantastic there. And I think that front three of Diaz, Jota, and Rafinha will be fantastic.
You can have that for years, can't you?
Yeah.
But I don't know how I feel about Salah, the whole Salah story coming out. Is he just holding off for a bit more money? Do you think Liverpool are going to stand firm?
I think
no player should be bigger than the club. But
that's it with Liverpool.
Obviously, Salah.
I think Salah's on a ridiculously low wage for his.
Yeah,
and I think
he's on 150 a week. I think
he wants 500.
Understandably,
he's arguably the best footballer. He's arguably the best footballer in the world.
I think they'll meet in the middle and sign a contract. I don't think there's any way Liverpool will let Salah go.
I think if you want someone to explain this better, you can look at places like the True Geordie when they talk. The Lawrence guy's pretty good at explaining this. Is how Liverpool run similarly to the Boston Red Sox in the way that they've got a structure. If you break that structure, see you later. We can replace you. Sadio Mane is already an example. He's been replaced already. Diaz, in my opinion, is already ready to fill those shoes from what I've watched. The guy looks fantastic. So I think maybe they're going to look for someone who's got that a willingness to defend, a willingness to put on pressure. And I think that's a problem where you look at someone like Anthony from Ajax is lack of pressure. But in the same time, Ajax have got the ball so much that does he really have time? You look at all these statistics. If you go to a website like FB Ref, that's probably the one I'd recommend for you instead of me reading them out to you. To put it simply, you see a lot of solid green, and by that I mean he's in the top 15 to 20% for a lot of statistics, including goals, shots, assists, shot creating actions, dribbles, progressive carries, even interceptions. So you look at, he is doing the defensive work. He is probably maybe 30-40 million, and if they do sell Salah, 100 million minimum for more Salah? Because I think a team would play, a PSG especially, when we get on to another player later on, will have a lot of money freed up, especially with the possibility that Neymar leaves too, which has been linked after the PSG reporter came out and basically said he comes to training drunk all the time, he does this and does that. I think looking at someone like Anthony would be a fantastic move for the club because I think you're going to get a hard worker. I think Serge Gnabry as well, someone who's really impressed at Bayern Munich with his ability to score crucial goals.
German as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
You've always got to be careful with Eredivisie players. You'll know it yourself when you sign David Klaas, and they can stat pad in the Eredivisie all they want. Did I say MLS before?
No,
yeah. I feel like Ajax though has quite a good.
If you're in the green in the Eredivisie, you got to take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, but this is green in the top 5 leagues in Europe.
He's a good player, but he's got to prove it elsewhere, but it can go one of two ways.
I think the thing is with Liverpool though is Jurgen Klopp naturally makes everyone better. So in a sense, where they can take these risks, and they'll still get a good player. They'll still always seem to get value for money.
Yeah, their transfer strategy is
I
fantastic.
never believed, what was it, 50 million on Jota? 45 million on Jota would be worth it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, since
yeah.
since Klopp's been there,
Michael Edwards,
they
really,
haven't
isn't
had
it?
a miss. I can't think of one Liverpool transfer in recent years, but that's been awful.
No, I can't really think of one.
Who did he bring in when he
Maybe
first joined?
the only one, not even Shaqiri was bad.
Yeah, because he got him for 12 million quid.
And he had some moments. He wasn't fantastic, but I think Minamino's maybe the biggest one. But Minamino's also had a really big.
He's that sort of player, isn't he? He's that bench player.
Minamino's had a really big role in Liverpool, especially in the Carabao Cup.
You can't have big hitters across the squad because see places like PSG. You just can't manage them all.
They are very sensible. The only big name they've signed is Thiago, isn't it? Really, in recent years. Obviously, Van Dijk was well known when they signed him, but I mean,
for him, didn't they?
Yeah, but Thiago, and I think he's been good at Liverpool as well.
Yeah, I think
he had his fair share of critics when he first joined, but
I think he deserved it though. But I think
proving worth his salt now.
Like a lot of players under top managers, they do improve over time. But then I think we move on to Firmino, and I think Firmino's the most obvious one. It's going to be Christopher Nkunku, isn't it? It's Liverpool seem obsessed with this man, and I do understand that people say, well, he's more of an attacking midfielder. I think he could easily play that centre forward in the top three, where he's sent to drop back, he's sent to receive the ball and drive. He's been fantastic for Leipzig this season. 15 goals and 9 assists in the Bundesliga, 7 goals and 1 assist in the Champions League, including, I believe it was a hat-trick against Manchester City. If you're scoring hat-tricks against Man City, you'll fit right in at Liverpool. Yeah, even 1 goal in his 2 Europa League appearances. I think stats like this are hard to just go, well, he might not do it in the Premier League, because he scored 7 goals in 6 Champions League appearances when he was in a group with PSG and Manchester City.
Nah, easy, mate. Didn't mislead.
No, he'll be a good signing as well. I think he'll be the next one off the conveyor belt when he at RB Leipzig.
Yeah, 100%.
He's that sort of player.
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to say too much about him, because I feel like if you listen to this, you more than likely watch a lot of football and you know how good Christopher Nkunku is. So I think if we move on to, speaking of French players, Kylian Mbappe, I think he's gone. I think Real Madrid's done. I think they had a chance of keeping him if they progressed in the Champions League, but that absolute capitulation and that amazing performance from Karim Benzema in the second leg really...
It just solidified his place at Madrid, didn't he?
It buried PSG's chance of keeping him. I don't care what they offer him. I think he's gone to Real Madrid. And I think
regardless of that Champions League tie, he went to Real Madrid anyway. If he impressed and PSG won the game, he's putting himself.
Do you not think
if
PSG won the Champions League, he'd have stayed?
No, absolutely not.
That would be a perfect ending, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
If they won it.
It'd almost be.
I don't think there was any scenario in which he stays at PSG.
But who do you think they replace him with? Mbappe's a weird one. He can play all along the front three, but as we'll say a primary goal scorer anywhere across the front three, because who can just score the goals? I think the number one name...
sorry to intervene. I think we just need to preface this by saying Kylian Mbappe is irreplaceable.
I don't think he is. Mo Salah. And it's not like they can't afford him.
But where's it like? Where are they playing at that front three at the moment? Is it Neymar, Mbappe, Messi?
I think what it should be is Messi in the middle.
Yeah,
his pace, his legs have gone.
Messi isn't lasting forever though. How many years has Messi got left in him?
But I'd say he's still got a few years if you handle him.
Not leading the line. If he drops deep,
but
possibly.
Not every striker leads the line, do they? Roberto Firmino. I think if he plays that false 9, just like he did under Pep Guardiola, he doesn't have to lead the line.
But he's not exactly in PSG fans' good books, is he?
Yeah, but I think if it doesn't.
But
PSG fans, to put it nicely, don't know what they're talking about. Let's just
spoil, aren't they?
They're spoiled. When you are in an endless pit of riches, you boo even the shiniest bit of gold. It's just as simple as that, really, isn't it? It's ridiculous. But I'm not saying Messi hasn't. I don't think Messi's been as bad as everyone makes out. I don't. I think obviously, I thought it was impossible to do those Barcelona numbers again. I think the thing is with PSG as well is he has took a secondary role, possibly a tertiary role behind Mbappe and Neymar, and I think he's accepted that. Ronaldo, I'm not going to compare the two, but Ronaldo's still obviously the main man at United. I don't think Messi's the main man at PSG, and I think he knows that. But I think as a primary goal scorer, that's not Messi. So I think they have to bring someone in, and whether that's play Salah on the right, which I think is probably
Dembele's quite a good one.
Ousmane Dembele, but I feel like with Ousmane that'd still make Messi the primary goal scorer, which I don't know if he has still. I think he's still world class to the point where he can make everyone around him so much better in the attack. but I think he's almost a linchpin in the attack, the one who makes others better. You look when he didn't play against Monaco, they got absolutely hammered because who was creating the chances for Mbappe? And, I think football fans look for any opportunity to put players down. I do it too. I'm not claiming that I'm the thingy, I'll go crazy when Alex Iwobi scores the winner and then call him crap the next game and say he's useless. Why have we signed him? But yeah, I think maybe Lewandowski too. There's rumours that he is possibly going to wants a new challenge. What a big opportunity for him. Go to PSG, get bags of money. If he's the one who wins them the Champions League, is there any doubt that man's the best player in the world if he does that? No, I don't think there is. But I think with PSG it's kind of a cheat code with PSG because we can list any player in the world. We can say anyone we want. And no one can go, well, that's not realistic. And we can go, neither was Messi.
I think Lewandowski is the only one that makes sense. Because I don't think Salah would go. I think anybody else to be too much of a weight put on their shoulders, to be too much of an expectation to perform. And I think they'd crumble, sorry, not cripple.
Can you see Messi going back to Barcelona? Because I know there has been some reports of it.
It depends if he takes a massive wage cut. I think if he takes a huge, I think he would do.
His course is run.
I don't think it has.
I
think his course has run as the primary player in the team, but I could see Messi playing in midfield.
He doesn't like how the club's run, does he? And he's made that very, very.
I don't think. I think he likes it now because Laporta's back. He can't say I don't like how Barca's run under Laporta when Laporta was the president. Pretty sure gave Pep the chance, who was around in the best years of Barcelona. So I think, in a sense, him going back, he'd have to take a huge wage hike, though.
I think it'd just ruin the club, in his opinion. I think
that
path's done. He should just move on. He should look forwards, not backwards.
I think probably Manchester City. I just really do, because I think if any manager knows how to, use the ultimate jewel in the crown, it's the man.
But the work rate that a Pep Guardiola player has to have, I don't. Do you think Messi puts in that effort?
I think he would. I think he may not have the legs to put in ridiculous amounts of effort, but I think that if a good manager knows how to utilise it, a good manager might look at Messi in the middle of a front three, have Sterling as the primary goal scorer, and maybe even Jesus on the right, two wingers who can score goals, and then look at it and go, Messi, when the centre-back gets it, run at them. When the goalkeeper gets it, run at them. I'm not asking you to chase back, I'm asking you to just run at those defenders and put some pressure on them. Because in the end, if you're Ben Mee, and you see Leo Messi running at you, you know you can take him physically, but you're going to be like, oh, you didn't know. When has Ben Mee ever played a player as good as Leo Messi? Never. It's simply he never will. So I think it's the sort of idea where you look at it and go, what you have to. I think he stays. I think Messi stays. I think just for the commercial revenue, PSG keep him. Because even if PSG fans hate him, everyone else loves him.
I just don't know. I can't see him going anywhere other than Newell's Old Boys.
No, I couldn't see him ending his career in Barcelona.
He'll go back to Argentina.
I couldn't see him ending his career in Argentina. Yeah, but Aguero said this for years, and I don't even think.
Messi said he wants to go back to Argentina.
Yeah, but they all say it.
He should never have gone to PSG in the first place. He should have just gone to City.
I think it should have been Man City. Yeah. I don't know if Man City weren't interested, but I think it should have been Man City.
But there's nowhere that makes logical sense that he goes to now.
I don't think there was when he left Barcelona originally. I think Man City is the most logical though.
Yeah, but I still don't think it's a good move for him.
I
think he should just try and win the fans over at PSG.
I think
an impossible task at the moment.
I think he can. But I think
if anybody can, he can.
Exactly. But we move on. We move over to Madrid now. Luka Modric, his contract expires in the summer, and there's a few players on the list. There's Ryan Gravenberch, but it looks like he may be tying up a €25 million move to Bayern. From everything that seems, looks like he's already agreed a contract. Now it's just talking to Ajax about the price. Fede Valverde, someone we talked about earlier, who maybe will want to be pushed into a more important role after Modric leaves. But I think Paul Pogba's the shout. And I think, speaking of this whole Galactical thing that we spoke about earlier, I think Paul Pogba really could do so much work when he has hard workers around him. When he has, maybe Fede Valverde's given the chance of a very hard-working player, good in the tackle. Casemiro behind him, a defensive screen who he knows he can trust. Who's his defensive screen at Man United? Fred. Scott McTominay.
McFred.
You know what I mean? Matic. It's not 2015 anymore. Do you know what I mean? So it's this idea that he's a perfect Real Madrid Galactico. The brand's there. The past history's there. He's made FIFA Pro World 11s. So it's not like Real Madrid can't go, well, he's not a world-class footballer. Looking for France. I don't think we have to touch on Pogba much. But I do think if Ryan Gravenberch is off the table, then Paul Pogba is the best choice.
On a free.
How old's Pogba now?
29.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I think even without his athletic ability, he could still turn into a player that he's still going to have that technical ability to pick the pass.
He's very classy on the ball, isn't he? Fair enough, he does rely on his athleticism a little bit, but if you were to take that away, then
I think he's definitely could transition.
He just has to revise his role. But we're talking about him like he's 35. He's got years left in him.
Yeah, I was thinking on the way here that imagine if it was the other way around, where Pogba stayed at United for the final Ferguson years and sort of crept into the team, and then he went from United.
Yeah.
Well, obviously with the
It's hypothetical.
Of course he
imagine
would.
if he, you know what I mean, played a few minutes here and there.
It's if his attitude were right.
And impressed, and then he went on that big move. Imagine if he went from United to a Juventus or to Real Madrid then, instead of it being the other way around now, where he's sort of trying to go back and all that. It's been a bit. Yeah, it's the same old story.
You look at Juventus. He was one of the best midfielders of the world when he had someone like Pirlo next to him. When he had players who
Vidal, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah.
Midfield three.
He had Vidal,
Marquise.
Pirlo, even Marquisio, players who got the job done. At United, no one gets the job done. Maybe Bruno Fernandes. But Bruno Fernandes and Pogba's interests clash too much because they're both primary ball carriers. So I think Real Madrid's a great move. I think especially if they get Mbappe, and we've spoke about this link they have to each other already. But then that means who do Manchester United replace Paul Pogba with? And to be honest, I think the best answer is Jude Bellingham. I think he's going to retire the best midfielder this country's ever produced. I really do. And I think...
Bold.
Exactly, it's a bold statement, but you think, how old is he?
Podcast is all about.
That could be a take that precedes unfortunate events.
It could be, but at 18 years old, born in 2003, to
disgusting.
already be arguably one of the first names on England's team sheet, in my opinion. I think he's that good.
He will be for the World Cup.
To be arguably Dortmund's best player, besides Erling Haaland. And if you just look at this here, like I said, if you want to get the FBref stuff up again, when you look at Jude Bellingham, while we're talking, his dribbles completed, his touches, he receives the ball in good positions, his goals, everything there goes, you want a player who can do everything. You look at Jude Bellingham, but then you see he likes the ball at his feet. But is that going to be a conflict of interest when you also see that he likes to receive the ball?
Well, it's tight. Will he want to go to United?
Jadon Sancho.
I think he would.
I think Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford plays a huge part.
That'll be their marquee signing.
I think they'll advertise it as a new project if they get a new manager in like Ten Hag, and he'll want to be there for the start.
And I think if you've got a Ten Hag right, you've got an English core of your squad, a good young English core. We'll spend 120 million on Jude Bellingham. I don't think you'll have to spend that much. I think 80 million will get it done. And to be honest with you, sounds crazy. 80 million for Jude Bellingham's a bargain in my opinion, because I think it's guaranteed success.
Pop yourself some English tax on there.
The thing is, I feel like there's not as much English tax. Because look at the thing with Jadon Sancho is, I think Jadon Sancho is now starting to prove he was worth the money spent on him. He's kind of disjointed Rashford out of the team. He's playing on that left-hand side, and he's really impressing.
Yeah, it's hard for anybody to thrive in that United team at the moment.
No, and I think if you give a manager like Erik Ten Hag, who you look at Ryan Gravenberch, likes his midfielders who can do everything with that polish, with that technique. You look at Jude Bellingham, who I don't know how that boy came through Birmingham's academy. To be honest with you, but I think he's got to be number one in my opinion.
His brother was playing at Birmingham.
I think
it's Joe Bellingham, I think. His younger brother.
Yeah.
I think he made his first team debut as well this year.
Yeah, I think he did.
He's played first team.
And I think, you look at other players, you look at Yuri Tillman's fantastic player, vital in Leicester's FA Cup win, scored that goal in the final. You look at Ruben Neves, I think Neves is a player who... It's weird, I think he goes very under the radar and then can shoot very over the radar within a few games. I think he's one of those players. But I think you look at them sort of players, you want players who... I think Man U want a young core of the team, which is why I think Bellingham and Tielemans works. I think Tielemans is still only 25, 24.
Ruben Neves as well.
Ruben Neves is 26, 27, so I think...
Oh, Jesus.
But Neves is, like I said, similar to John Martinho, a player who can go into his mid-30s quite comfortably.
Yeah, he's not one of them that's going to retire at 33, is he?
No, unless obviously...
He does not rely on his pace, his athleticism at all.
No.
He's very much
I think we speak about all these players, and now I'm going to put this as before we end, the final question. Out of all those players there, everything we've listed, who do you think would be the best out-and-out replacement for the players listed there?
Well, that's a tough one. I don't know. Maybe Bellingham. I think it's quite, because you made a good few points there. That obviously that revolution. I think that would be good. It was obviously as a Pogba replacement, or maybe Pogba to Madrid as well. That them two swapping, I think, is a good sort of duo.
Yeah.
It suits both parties, isn't it?
I do think for me it would be it's either Nkunku to replace Firmino because I just think Nkunku's better than Firmino. Bellingham to Man United. I think it's between those two.
Yeah, I agree with Toby. To be fair, I think Bellingham to United could be a masterstroke. I think Pogba to Madrid could revitalise both.
Parties,
Yeah, I think we could see old Juventus Pogba. Although Pogba could be one of them that he goes back to Juventus and he hops between Juventus and Manchester United.
Just keeps flipping
for the rest of time.
Just 50 years old. Paul Pogba's joined.
It's like our Norwich and Fulham will never play each other in the Premier League. Well, they'll never play each other.
Just
They just keep going up and down.
50-year-old Paul Pogba joins Man United as manager and then goes to Juventus right after. And then it's just until the man dies, he's swapping between clubs. Yeah, well, that's the first episode of a football podcast that precedes unfortunate events. And it will be a very unfortunate event where something we said in this podcast ends up getting clipped up and we end up looking like mugs in a few months' time. But that's the entire point of the name. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thank you to Lewis, Toby for being on. We'll be on every week. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, all socials. Make sure to share the podcast. That'd help us a lot. It's the first episode. Get it out there as much as possible. And we will see everyone who's watching this next week. Would you like to say goodbye, lads?
Goodbye. Leave us a review. Tell us how we did.
Yeah, thank you for listening, everyone. Appreciate it.